What's up, fellow Hoops fans? We are back like we never left. This is the Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV. As always, we are brought to you by our good friends at topsport.com.au. Now it's Friday morning. Friday morning means BK's in the building. BK, what's happening, mate?
I'm doing good, my brother. How you living?
I'm living good, as always. You know, can't complain. Life is good, my friend. Life is good. Listen, let's get straight into it. We've got a lot to go through. Let's just go around the NBA and have a look at some of the hottest topics. Let's start off, BK, with the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I've picked them to go back-to-back. I'm not quite, changing my mind on this, BK, but I think I'm kind of wavering a little bit because I want to ask you, look, they lost 115-99 to the Cavs. Look, they're dropping in the standings, BK. They're dropping in the standings. They're not exactly climbing the Eastern Conference. Now, the one good thing they've got going for them is there's so much parity and the East is so tough. And, they're not falling that far behind, but they've actually fallen to fifth behind the Cleveland Cavaliers, who we're actually going to talk about in a few minutes. What I want to ask you, BK, is there cause for concern here for the Milwaukee Bucks?
Yeah, look, they've had some odd losses. I mean, going down to like the Pistons, the Raptors, the Hornets twice, and as you mentioned, losing to the Cavs and the Hawks as well. But when they've faced the tough teams in the East, especially this season, they've been really good. And that's been games against the Nets, the Bulls, and they had wins over the Warriors and the Grizzlies. So when they've come up against good teams, they have actually played well. So I'm not too concerned with the Bucks. I kind of feel like they are coasting a little bit through this regular season. Obviously, they haven't really been at their full complement as well. Brook Lopez still out, but it's the record with the big three. I think that's what matters. They're still dominant with Middleton, Antetokounmpo, and Holiday in the lineup. I think they're at 18-3. So when you kind of look at the wins that they've had and then how they've played with their best players, I think they're just kind of chilling till the playoffs start.
Yeah, listen, I hope you're right because, like I said, I've picked them to go back-to-back. I think Giannis is the MVP to this point. They're just 5-5 in their last 10, BK. But like you mentioned, that record with their big three is actually still phenomenal. That was a rare loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers with all three of those guys playing because Antetokounmpo, Drew Holiday, and Chris Middleton were all playing in that game. So that was a rare loss with those three guys playing. The offense is still ranked number 4. Defense is ranked about 14th in the league, which is, it's not great, but it's also not horrible. I'm with you. I think they're coasting because I also think these guys know how to win at this point. Obviously, they've done it. It's a long NBA season. I keep saying this. The regular season is actually way too long. They know what they have to do to make sure that these guys are healthy at the right time of the season, and that's going to be late March, early April, straight through the American spring and early summer.
Yeah, and that's really what matters for a team. That does have a lot of veteran guys that they obviously went through this last season, so they know what they need to do. But I think once we sort of get out of the All-Star break and maybe the calendar hits March, we'll maybe start to see them pick up a little bit of momentum. But I'm interested to see what this means for them at the trade deadline. Do you think they're going to be a team that does make a move? We saw them part ways with DeMarcus Cousins after that, pretty nice stretch that he had there for them. They still kind of have a glaring hole there at center. But some of the names they've been linked with, Chetty Osman from the Cavaliers, even Thaddeus Young's another guy whose name's come up. Can you see them maybe trying to add a little bit of reinforcement to this roster for the stretch run?
Yeah, I do. And I think they add a reinforcement, as long as they don't have to give up anything too significant. And it's obviously going to be something that's going to help the team. Those guys that you mentioned all add some depth. There are other bodies that you can use in the playoffs. I can see them making a move, but only if it makes sense for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're still kind of missing that guy like PJ Tucker that was so important for them.
Yeah, that was a big loss. Yeah.
So, it wouldn't surprise me if they went out and maybe tried to add another veteran guy to this group. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of the trade deadline, because I've said this all season. I think the roster on paper they have this season is actually better than the one that they had last season. It may not be showing just yet, but I think the best is still very much to come from the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm still high on them.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do think their roster this year is better than on paper anyway than the one they had last year, and that's why I picked them to go back to back. BK, you mentioned the trade deadline. One guy that we thought might have been available at the trade deadline, well, apparently he isn't, because the Brooklyn Nets have come out and they've said, look, we're not going to be trading. We're not going to be listening to any offers for James Harden. Now, this saga, is kind of playing out a little bit over the last few days. Daryl Morey obviously wants him in Philadelphia. There was rumors that, James Harden didn't want to be in New York. He doesn't like the cold weather. He enjoyed being, as the quote said, a central Houston magnate when he was playing for the...
I don't blame
him. When he was playing for the Houston Rockets. Apparently he doesn't like state income tax in New York, where there was none in Houston. And like I said, we had... Yaron Weitzman on the show on Wednesday. And like I said to him, listen, if you're getting paid $44 million, you want to keep as much of that money as you possibly can. So he doesn't like, apparently there was rumors that he doesn't like living in New York. He's tired of Kyrie Irving's part-time status. But, he was asked about it after the game, and he said, look, apparently, if you didn't hear it from me, or, I've got an agent, if you haven't heard it from us, then it's just reports. So, my question to you, BK, is one, what do you make of all this? And do you think that Harden gets moved at the trade deadline, despite what Brooklyn are saying?
I don't, and the Nets have no reason to entertain anything like this. But from my perspective, looking at it from James Harden, there's so few opportunities as an NBA player where you have leverage, and the biggest leverage you have is as a free agent. He does have a huge player option for next season for $47 million. And he can sign a bumper extension with the Nets after that. I think it'll take him to somewhere north of $60 million in the final year of his deal. So the bread is buttered in Brooklyn. But for them, Kyrie Irving is in and out of this team. They are a championship contender when they are healthy. But for James Harden, he's at the point now where he needs to win. He's 32. He's done everything individually that he can in his NBA career. And I think this is just don't get too comfortable with me here, because, if you mess this up, you might find out. Like, he's got a guy in Daryl Morey that has been coveting him ever since he arrived in Philadelphia. So I think for James, this is just kind of a situation where, he hasn't been a free agent before. Let's test the market and just see what's up, because this is the window for him. And also really his last big check that's going to come.
Yeah, I was surprised to read that yesterday, that he's never actually been a free agent in his 13-year career. So, yeah, I don't blame him for, again, like you said, it's all about leverage in the NBA. Who's got the leverage? Having that leverage, but also having the options, in the summertime to sort of say, okay, well, if it doesn't work out in Brooklyn for whatever reason, then, hey, maybe I do move over to Philadelphia and play with a guy that's absolutely tearing the league apart right now, and a GM that really wants me. So, but yeah, I'm with you, BK. I don't think he moves at the trade deadline. I think this is definitely not a case of where there's smoke, there's fire. He definitely sees out this season with Brooklyn, and whatever happens. And then, I think he weighs up his options in the summertime. BK, moving on real quick to a team that you've been a little bit high on this season, and I haven't actually, but they could just be turning things around. The Atlanta Hawks, all of a sudden, don't look now, they've won 5 in a row, BK, and they look like they're making a bit of a push for those, playoff spots, but at the very least, one of those play-in seeds. They're 2 games behind Boston for the 8th seed, but they're right in there in the fight with Toronto, New York, and I'm forgetting that third team right now. That's Boston was the third team as well. Geez, it's too early in the morning for me, BK. But they've had some good wins. They've beaten Milwaukee. They've beaten Miami. BK, are the Atlanta Hawks back? They're surging.
This really looks like a rinse and repeat of what they did last year. Play terribly for the first half of the season, and then pick up some steam. And you know what? They have been disappointing this season. And you can look at some of the absences they've had, whether it's injuries or COVID or whatever. But looking ahead, they have the 6th easiest schedule remaining. So they very much are in a position to kind of do what they did last season and come out of the All-Star break on a bit of a tear. I think they still have a team very capable of doing, at least close to what they did last season. A lot of that will depend on the next few weeks. Bogdanovic, he's back in the lineup. He returned from their last game. This is the first time they've had a full complement of players in like 2 years. The Hawks have been stricken with injuries and absences. So I'm confident they can go on a little bit of a run. And as you said, they have closed the gap to those playing seeds, and they're not that far off cracking into that top six in the Eastern Conference. Things are very tight in the standings. Do you think this is the start of something out there?
No, I don't, because I thought last year was a bit of a sort of, I don't want to use the word fluke, but it was like an ideal, optimal run in to the playoffs for them. I don't think they replicate that. I thought they were going to finish probably about 4th or 5th in the East. I don't even think they're going to get obviously as high as that. The one thing that has impressed me though during this run, obviously Trae Young named Eastern Conference Player of the Week, but it's the reserves and the backups, I think, that have done a really, really good job with the Atlanta Hawks. The defense has increased, and they're playing harder on that end of the floor. I mean, they were ranked 27th in the league in defensive rating, but over the course of this winning streak, they're actually equal 8th. And then you've got guys that are stepping up. BK, you're going to have to help me with this. I don't know how to pronounce this name. Onyeka. How do you pronounce the last name?
Okongwu.
Okay.
He's brother.
Yeah, that's it. I knew you could help me out. But he's actually been playing really, really well. Stepped up, in the place of Clint Capella when he hasn't been playing. So it's those kind of guys, and they've stepped up their defensive intensity. That's helped them on this run. But as far as making some noise in the playoffs, I don't see it.
Yeah, I'm irrationally high on Trae Young, so I'll live and die on Hawks Island. But just the congestion in the East does give me confidence, because all of a sudden the Cavs are now the 3rd seed. Like you string together a few wins, you can really kind of climb up those standings. So it's going to be interesting to see if maybe what they do at the trade deadline as well, because John Collins is a guy whose name kind of keeps getting thrown around as well. And the asking price doesn't seem to be that high. According to Bleacher Report, they're after a 1st-round pick and a starting caliber center in exchange for John Collins, which is not a ton for a guy who, really has all the hallmarks of this guy can be a really, really good number 2, on a good team. So it'll be interesting to see if they do part ways with John Collins. He signed that big extension in the summer. I think it was 125 for him. So I like John Collins. Do you think he is going to be on the Hawks down the stretch? Do you think he's going to be part of their long-term plans?
Part of their long-term plans, no. Whether he gets moved at the trade deadline or not, I'm not sure. Who knows? The NBA is just, full of surprises. But long-term, no, I don't think. But he's also one of those guys that, like, the Hawks have got some pieces that other teams covered. So, like you said, the asking price is not much. You would have thought, the Hawks might want a little bit more for a guy like John Collins. But I definitely think he gets moved. Maybe not at the trade deadline, but definitely not in the long-term plans for the Atlanta Hawks. But BK, I guess this brings us on to our question for buying or selling about the Atlanta Hawks. And I kind of already know what your answer is going to be, BK. Are we buying this Atlanta Hawks winning streak?
Yes. I want to come up with something clever, but I'm in on the Hawks. I think the teams that are above them, teams like the Knicks, the Celtics, the Hornets, they don't really give me a ton of confidence that scream, yeah, we're going to hang on to our seeding. I think the Hawks definitely have the roster to climb up the Eastern Conference standings. Whether they can repeat the trick in the playoffs, it will be a little bit tougher this season, just given that they've got teams like the Bulls that have emerged out of nowhere from last season. The Nets are still there. The Bucks are still there. The Sixers are still there. So there is a lot of teams that will be tough. Miami as well. So the path isn't going to be as easy as it was, or relatively easy last season for the Hawks. But I still think they're a 6th seed. I don't see them as a outside looking in or a playing team. I think they're better than all the teams that are above them, sort of from the 6th seed down.
Oh wow, that's a big call. That's a big call, because I disagree with that. Actually, I don't think they're
Trae Young we trust.
Yeah, in Trae Young we trust. Listen, I did this with Yaron on Wednesday when we did buying or selling. I'm gonna add in a caveat, right? I'm buying this winning streak with my caveat being as a regular season winning streak, because I think they can put a few more games together. Like you said, if the schedule is pretty easy, they can string some wins together. Trae Young's playing absolutely fantastic. The other guys are stepping up. Defense has stepped up. They can put some strings. They can string some wins together. But long term, I'm not buying it because I don't think there's anything much of. I won't say anything much of substance, but I don't think they have the depth to go on any prolonged sort of winning campaign. You know, they win a few regular season games. They might get into those play seeds, maybe even the higher seeds like a 7th or 8th, but anything more than that, I don't think they get. So my caveat is I'm buying this current winning streak, but I don't see it being sustainable.
Yeah, I think if they get to a 6th seed, what are they looking at? At a first round exit here? Because, I said they're better than the teams from the 6th seed down. They're not better than any of the teams above them. If they have to play one of those teams in the first round, they want to pray they get the Cavaliers in a 3-6 or something like that, because they're not beating Milwaukee, they're not beating Miami, they're not beating Philly, they're not beating Brooklyn, and they're not beating Chicago in a first round series.
And to be honest, I don't think they're beating Cleveland either. Cleveland's good. Cleveland's good.
The Cavs are nice. As Yana said, these are not the same Cavaliers.
That's exactly right, So, all right, well, we kind of agree on that one there, BK. Let's just jump into some game predictions. We've only got a very short or small schedule today. Only 2 NBA games on the NBA schedule. We've got the Lakers and the 76ers. 76ers $1.53 favorite here, and you got to think that that's a lot to do with Joel Embiid. Lakers 262, lines at -4.5, total is at 217 flat there. This one's live on ESPN. BK, Philly's just 11-10 at home, 7-3 in their last 10, but Embiid in his last 5. I looked at these numbers yesterday. Embiid in his last 5 games is averaging 42.5 points, 12.8 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. BK, after strength of Joel Embiid, there's no way I could even pick Los Angeles in this game. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's the baddest man on the planet right now. Joel Embiid has been playing crazy. Good thing for the Lakers, Anthony Davis back in the lineup, and we saw that have immediate results with that win over the Nets. But like you said, the way Embiid is playing, I don't know if AD's doing that in his second game back and slowing him down. So I'm a rock with Embiid and the Sixers.
No, and Anthony Davis did have a quiet game against Brooklyn. I think it was like 8 points, 5 rebounds, or something like that.
Yeah,
so
he started well. He started well in the first quarter, and then kind of fell off a little bit.
Yeah, I think he may need a little bit more time just to get back up to NBA speed. Next game we're going to take a look at, which is the last game of the day today. Minnesota Timberwolves, Golden State Warriors. Warriors, $1.39 favorites. The Timberwolves, $3.15. The line's at -6.5. Total 229 flat. Also live on ESPN today. BK, you know what? I like the Warriors at home, even though they haven't been convincing over their last, maybe 9-10 games as well. They've kind of cooled off a little bit. I believe Clay is playing today, but I do like the Warriors at home.
Yeah, the Warriors have been interesting just with Draymond being out, Clay missing the last 3 games. The home court really does kind of put them over the edge. But don't sleep on this Timberwolves team. We've got Ant-Man dropping 40 pieces. I think this is a team that a game that the Timberwolves will come in thinking they're a pretty good chance to win. But a home floor for the Warriors, and especially if Klay Thompson's back in the lineup, I'll give them the nod today.
Yeah, we agree on that one there. That's 2 out of 2, BK. We're going to take a look at one quick NBL game that we've got on the schedule tonight, and then we're going to call it a day. Tasmania Jackjumpers, Adelaide 36ers. Clash of the Titans, this one here, BK. The Jackjumpers, $1.70. 36ers, $2.13. The line is at 1 there. Total is at 160.5. Live on ESPN tonight at 7:30, BK. Tasmania have lost 3 out of their last 5. Adelaide have lost 2 out of their last 5. Both teams are on 2-game losing streaks. I think, you know what? I'm going to go with the money here, and it's purely because Tasmania is at home. I know Isaac Humphries is out. I think Mitch McCarron's out for Adelaide as well, both with COVID related, I believe. I'm going to go Tasmania at home.
All right, I'll go against you in this one. I'll put the 36ers. Let's.
I like it. I like it.
some steam on this game.
There you go. I like it.
They're desperate. They need a win.
They need a win, and they're actually playing Melbourne on Sunday, I believe. So I think if they don't get the win tonight, they're definitely not getting it against Melbourne, because Melbourne is absolutely scorching. I think they've won 8 in a row now. So
yeah, put all your eggs in this game if you're the 36.
Yeah, basically. Actually, is it too late to change my pick? No, I'm rocking out with the Tasmania Jackjumpers. We're going to ride or die together on this game. BK, thank you very much, my brother. Always a pleasure chatting hoops with you. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the NBA action. Enjoy your time off if you've got it. I know you're a busy man. We'll catch up with you on Monday morning. This has been another episode of The Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our good friends at topsport.com.au. We'll see you guys on Monday.
Always a pleasure, my man.